I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl.
The accident was over a year ago. A second woman has been elected president. A 12th planet has been named in the solar system. The last wild polar bear has died. I slept through it all. I was here for my waking. He called it a beginning. He said it was good. I think he may have thought that anything I did was good.
Welcome to Transition Radio, live from Hollywood, Florida, with your host and hostess, Mark Angelo and Jessica Lynn Cummings. Show for trans folks, by trans folks, here to let your voice be heard.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Transition Radio TV. So very glad you're able to join us live today, and we're happy to be here. And
yes, we are.
Another episode 10. We're climbing. Today we have a very special guest, Luis Ramos, co-producer and T World Generation, and we're going to talk all about that in a little bit. But first, we want to thank our sponsor,
TheBreastFormStore.com. They have everything you could possibly need for your transgender or cross-dressing needs. Visit their website and tell them Transition Radio sent you. We are giving away a pair of gold seal breast forms, compliments of TheBreastFormStore.com.
Send us an essay or a short video not to exceed 4 minutes telling us why you should be the winner of these girls. And send that information to transitionradioshow@gmail.com. Again, that's transitionradioshow@gmail.com. Keep them essays coming. Today on our show, we will interview Luis Ramos, who is one of the producers behind T World Generation documentary. He will be talking about the documentary and his own personal experience with transgender individuals from around the globe. He quotes, "I am a man who holds high expectations for himself. I am a big believer in making a mark in this world. We all hold the key to our own destiny. So make it count. Show your own legacy."
Luis Ramos is a 28-year-old director and producer who attended Full Sail University in Orlando, Florida, currently working on T World Generation, the film, a documentary that follows the lives of transgender men and women. The film is inspired by real coming out stories. Luis grew up in California, where he attended school. Once graduated from high school, he decided to join the military, where he served in the Navy as a personal specialist. In the military, he learned the importance of diversity and differences in people.
Once he decided to leave the military and follow his dream as a film director, he focused on putting together his passion and creativity into a project that would make a difference for others. Luis teamed up with Omar Montes, who soon became his business partner, opening up T World Generation, LLC.
He says, "We are currently working on the development of the film and have been working with amazing people in the process."
Being gay is your sexual orientation. Being homosexual is your sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is who you are emotionally and most of the time erotically attracted to, who you love, who you are attracted to. Being transgender is a term that is kind of like an umbrella term, if you will, used to describe individuals whose gender identity doesn't match with what they see.
So I embraced myself in this whole culture of the arts and expressed myself, this way with long trench coats and tight pants and ruffly shirts. And, actually the way I'm dressed right now is probably not that much different than what I would dress in junior high school or high school. But that was my way of coping, because underneath what you saw as the facade of this really cool boy dressed up in the fashions of the time was really this person trying to come out that was, wanting to be more feminine and be more of a girl.
I mean, let's face it, who are we kidding? As a parent, it's got to be very heartbreaking to have a child that you know it's going to have a very difficult life. You know, as a parent, that once that child leaves the household, he or she is going to have it tough. So most parents, in their defense, most parents, they get an overwhelming sense of worry that just doesn't stop because they don't know how the child is going to make it out there in a society that is so homophobic.
So what would be the sin difference of lying and being a transsexual?
There wouldn't be any difference.
There wouldn't be any difference.
No.
So then you feel that a liar and a transsexual are equally judged?
Yes.
By Jehovah?
Yes.
So you knew somebody in New York who was transgender?
Yeah, I do. I know. Because there was a fella that knew my brother, because my brother is gay and stuff like that.
Your brother is gay?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
You know, how could I feel? He's my brother, you know what I mean? And, you know, like, I'm against, you know, things like that because the Bible teaches us one way, but he's still my brother. I still love my brother, you know? And, you know, there was a young fella that was his good friend that he went to he did the change and everything. But you know what? I'm not here to judge nobody, you know what I mean?
I am not gay, my son is. I'm Hispanic, and it's been very hard for me. It's been a big, painful journey, but a journey that with the help of God I have been able to conquer. And I'm very, very happy to be here supporting my son.
They're your child who you love anyway, so we love them no matter what they turned out to be. So accept, tolerate.
I think it's time to allow us as people to do what's best for us. And for people to have an open mind to appreciate things that goes on in life. Because it doesn't matter what you say or what you may think. Every family has someone that's gay.
And now welcome to our show, Mr. Luis Ramos.
Well, thank you for having me, Mark. I really appreciate it. And Jessica.
It's a pleasure. And it's amazing this project you and Omar have taken on to educate the world, because there is a lot of ignorance, even in our own LGBT community. So thank you.
For sure. And I just have one very important question before we get started. What's it like being on the other side of the camera and being interviewed?
It's a little nerve-wracking, but you guys make it real easy and smooth.
Well, we try.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, as a member of the LGBT community, how aware were you of the transgender community, and why did you become interested in making a documentary about us?
Well, I have to admit, Mark, I wasn't very aware. I will say, in my mind, everyone who was part of this LGBTQ umbrella was either a gay male or a gay female. In my eyes, we shared the same feeling of having an attraction to the opposite sex. Soon I learned that that was not the case. You know, even though we are under the same umbrella, you know, we are very different. And once we started investigating and doing a little more research, we learned that, you know, as people, we are different, and we do have varieties within our same community. So we weren't aware, but, you know, we're trying to bring the message to everybody who is watching this.
And it's funny because it's like when we go, now that we moved to Willow Manors and we go to like Boom in the different areas, the gay clubs, and you still, I mean, it's like when I tell somebody that I was born a female, they look at me and they're like, no, that's not, you know, they don't get it. Then you try to explain and educate and whatever else. And
my favorite question is when they see his chest hair, they're like, is that real?
Yeah, and then they pull it. I'm like, hello, that hurts. It's like...
no, he glues it on piece by piece before we come.
Very statistically, whatever the word is, you know, it's like boom, boom, boom. But
peel and stick carpet.
It's almost like I take it for granted that everyone in the LGBT community knows about transgender people and stuff like that, and it amazes me how there is still very much work to be done and a lot of education.
That's
So-
right.
Very true. So, what has been your experience thus far since being face-to-face and listening to the stories of transgendered individuals?
Well, the experience has been incredible. We have learned that every individual brings something different to the table, and that even though we are part of this community, we all express ourselves differently. We have learned that sexual orientation does not define you as a person, but equals a small portion of who you are. We've also learned that at the end of the day, we're all just human, and we just want to gain the acceptance and live our lives.
Yeah, and then that's important. And I think once the whole rainbow family unites and everybody accepts who they are, I think the rest of the world will join in. I think that's something that we as the members of the LGBTQ community have to, first of all, learn how to have self-love and self-acceptance so that everybody else on the outside would do the same.
Definitely.
And
and within the community, I mean, there is a huge array of diversity, culturally, just, what am I trying? Okay, blonde moment.
Okay.
You know what I mean.
One of Jessica's blonde moments.
Yeah, she has a lot of those. It's hard to live with this, but okay. Let me ask you something. Having interviewed so many different people and from different, countries and stuff like that, what did you see a pattern? Did you see a lot of differences? Elaborate a little bit more, on that question,
I think that from the people and the cases that we've taken on, we've learned that at the end of the day, Mark, the message is still the same. We all just want to be accepted. And, whether you have, a good growing up or a bad experience, at the end of the day, what I've learned is that, the transgender people that we've interviewed basically want to make something of themselves and want to succeed in this world that's, unfortunately very homophobic and holds a lot of religion matters against, the LGBT community. So I just think, from the interviews we've done, people just want to get the message across and make those that don't understand put themselves in those shoes for a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's basically the quest, because it's hard for an other individual who has not been born with this condition to understand. And one of my favorite lines that always to tell on the talk shows was, imagine if you woke up the next morning, you were being born as a male, and you woke up in the morning with a vagina, but your brain is still that of a male. I mean, the kind of confusion, your body, it's like, wait, this doesn't match with this. And it's, it's hard. Now I'm going to change gears. Go ahead.
And just to point on that, with transitioning, it's modifications that people are doing to their bodies. And, now we're in the 21st century, and there's tons of modifications that everyday people do to their bodies, as tattoos, breast augmentations. So if we view it in that way, we all modify our bodies to a certain extent.
Of course we do.
Yeah, and regular, one of the highest paid professions, or one of the doctors that make the most money, are surgeon. I mean, regular women or men that just are trying to fight the aging process, or don't like the way their nose looks, or just whatever. I mean, constantly altering and changing, but no one says anything about that yet when an individual tries to align their brain with their body.
Oh, but you're transgendered and the changes are so drastic.
You're going to go to hell.
Well, when you have breast augmentation, you go from an A to a D. That's pretty drastic.
I personally don't believe in the whole altering whatever. I did it when I first came out. I've changed my views a lot on things. Do I regret it? No, but I believe that being transgender is not about surgeries. It's not about the hormones. It's about identifying who you are as an individual. You know, your gender centers in your brain. It's not between your legs. So as I said, I'm going to go ahead and change a little gears here. How was it growing up as a gay Latino man?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Mark. It's very important to me. It's been a journey, and it's been an experience in its own. It hasn't been easy, but it's gotten better. Coming out for me in a Mexican-American family, it was not easy. You know, my mom had the whole religion thing and, you know, what is the neighbor going to say? What is the family going to say? However, it's been a blessing. And now that I can say that, you know, my family is very supportive and they love me. They understand who I am. They understand what I believe and how I feel. And, you know, I just want to tell all those teens that are coming out, whether you're transgender or not, you know, put yourself on the other side of the fence. And you need to understand that it's not just you coming out. You know, it's your family, your friends, the people that love you and surround you. They're also coming out. And, you know, it's a process. You need to educate those people that you are trying to get them to understand how you feel. You need to understand their feelings as well.
Exactly. And I think that we as transgender people go through the same exact thing that gay, lesbian, and people that come out. I think coming out is always the hardest part.
Yeah, and we forget
the scariest part.
That, as Louis was saying, you know, we have all this stuff in our minds already pre-planned. We've been thinking about it, and all of a sudden we just want, you know, the family to say, "Oh, I'm on board with this." You know, it takes time. It's hard for them to adjust to the whole idea because they're fearful for our lives. Whether it's they're fearful for their gay son or their lesbian daughter, they think they're going to be, you know, beat up and hurt. The same thing with transgender individuals. You know, it's a hard thing for family, loved ones to understand, and we have to be as understanding of them as they are of us. And I think that will help heal the whole process as family members.
I agree. Right. So do you find there is more acceptance of the transgender community in certain parts of the world or states than others?
Well, I definitely feel that there are places in the world where it's more tolerant to be or they're more tolerant with the transgender community. You know, there's countries where the transgender community is viewed as a third gender, and you know, people feel that the transgender community and members of it are a blessing from God. And then there's other cases in other countries where it's illegal to be transgender and you can be killed for it. So I do feel that it varies from part to part or different countries.
Definitely. And did you want to say something on that?
I know there was something in Uganda, I believe it was. It was illegal, and you could be put to death for being gay or transgender. Uganda or something like that. There was this big write-up on that.
And then a lot of that is based on religious beliefs. A lot of these countries are really Bible Belt, and they're following the Bible supposedly to the T. Now, I don't see anybody being stoned or killed because they're eating shellfish or lobster or whatever else. Exactly. But, you know, they pick and choose, like I like to call it cherry picking parts of the Bible, and then, you know, we happen to be, the LGBT community, the ones that get picked on. Because there's a lot of things that the Bible in Leviticus talks about that people are doing, wearing different types of, there's something regarding the same fabric that you would get burned if you wear, I mean, all these things. But, you know, and I think people are fighting their own demons. I think my belief, and this is my belief, we are all born bisexual. And I believe that, you know, a lot of people fight these tendencies, so they stick to these religious dogma, and it's almost a way of them trying to fight what they feel inside. And it's like bad, 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 but they do it behind closed doors.
Right.
And it's, but yeah, different parts of the world do have different, like, tribal times. And I know we've mentioned this before, we would consider two-spirited, healers, shamans, and teachers, and all that great stuff.
Very powerful.
Yes.
Right.
Did you want to add anything else regarding that? I mean, any other regarding the accept?
You know, I just feel that even though there's differences and stuff, you know, we can make a difference. And I feel that this film is one of those things that eventually, is going to spread out outside of the U.S. And, hopefully people understand and they make that conscious choice to let people live their lives for who they are.
Yeah, we hope. I think there's always going to be ignorant people. No matter what you do, there's just going to be individuals that are just one-track minded and nothing you could say or do will change them. But I think the majority individual, as they learn more, because it's something new to a lot of people, so they see things as, oh, that's a freak, that's a sin, they're changing their body, they're doing this, that, and the other. But eventually when they start hearing more and more about it and they start learning that it's a biological condition, it's not psychological, it's not a lifestyle, it's not a game, and then eventually we'll understand, hopefully. At least I'm hoping a good 80% of the population. There's always going to be the 20% that's going to, no matter what you put in their face.
Hey, well, it's better to have 20% than more.
Exactly.
No doubt.
Tell us a little bit about Omar, and how did the two of you go about creating this documentary?
All right. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Omar. Omar is not only my best friend, but he's an outstanding business partner. Omar and I teamed up when I proposed the idea to him. I had the idea of coming up with this project, and as soon as I proposed it to him, he loved the idea and decided that we needed to get this project together. And that's when T World Generation was born. And I feel that, this project has not only made us more aware of, the humankind, but it's made us have a different view of the community that we're part of.
Okay. And we would have loved to have Omar with us today, but this whole camera thing, they would have lost the quality of camera if another, I think it's something like that, Joe, right? Third person in the camera would lose the effect. All right, we wanted to share another clip or a trailer from the actual film T World Generations.
You're not the only ones who are transitioning. You're not the only ones who need to really get adjusted to this new life that you're going to be. Everyone around you needs to transition with you.
Yes, here we are, we transitioned, and for the first time in my life, I feel balanced with both myselves, in my female side and my male side.
Ever since I started transitioning, I've been happier than I've ever been in my entire life.
This relationship has proven that to me, that I found a person that was born genetically a male, and I was born genetically a female, and I fell in love.
Well, I was always Maya Andrews. She was just waiting to come out. When I was younger, I would, always be her. I was born her. I would, dress up in my family's clothes, always identify with female characteristics, with my sisters and my mom, my grandma, my aunts, cousins. I was always a girl.
For the process for me, I wouldn't say it was hard, but it was hard. It was one of those things where I had so much support and so many people backing me till it made me less stressed when it came to transforming myself into who I am today. As long as you have people that love you and appreciate you and they're there for you through whatever trying tribulations that that come before you, anything is possible and anything seems like it's easy, but it's still, to me, it's a hard process because you're actually changing yourself from one to the next.
To see a doctor and you're really going to go forward through this change, you need to leave that house in the gender that you feel that you want to be. So that being said, if you're a male to female, you'd leave your house wearing female clothing, even if you go to work in male clothing, because you're taking your steps to becoming, something other than yourself. There's a standards of care that's in place that says you need to live in this, gender for a certain length of time before you move forward. There's been a lot of changes as far as the standards of care is concerned, and some of those rules have changed. But essentially it's still the same, is going out in public dressed in something that at some point in time in your life you weren't comfortable wearing in public. So you leave your house in clothes that are foreign to you, perhaps in public, end up in an office around a waiting room of people who are probably staring at you
and whispering about you. I don't think you'd wake up one day and you go, oh, I want to be a woman, or I want to be a girl. For me, and I know a lot of people feel different, but for me, like I said, I've kind of always acted like how I act today. And in the generation, you know, when I was younger and graduating high school and things like that, life was a little different. It wasn't quite as accepted as it is today. You know, transgender people are not completely accepted, but people are aware that they're out there. When I was going through the transition, it wasn't quite as popular, but for me, it was a choice of basically survival.
That was a really, really good trailer. And it's nice to see Ana Gloria, which Ana Gloria and I have done many, many things together, as well as Jessica Lamb. And very glad that you guys chose them to be part of the documentary as well.
Yeah, we're very excited to have all of you guys. You know, it's been amazing working with Dr. Ana Gloria as well as Jessica, and both of you. Want to thank you on behalf of T World Generation. It's nice to have you know, people who are out there giving such a strong message and trying to educate people about, you know, the transgender community.
Yes, and
do I hear that sound in the background? I don't know.
Joe, are you playing video games again?
I see nothing on my end.
Where is that coming from?
Where's it coming from? I hear like
noise in the background.
I'm sorry, that's probably me.
So Lewis is playing video games.
See, blame me, you know.
It's my Skype.
Yeah, but you should put do not disturb so that other people don't try to like chime in with you. Anyway.
So sorry. So what do you wish for this project to accomplish?
Well, you know, what I would like for this project to basically accomplish is spread a positive message to open up the minds of those who are not aware or informed about the transgender community. I would like the project to help parents understand their children who are making the choice to live their lives as transgender men and women. We would also like for this project to not just be a film, but, you know, become a movement where, you know, people spread the message and make other people aware, whether they're transgender or not, of the transgender community.
And that would be excellent, because I think that's one way. I mean, not everyone has to like us, just as long as they tolerate and understand. And that's, I think, through education, through projects like T World Generation, and through our shows, and through all these different outlets that there are out there now to educate people, which wasn't there possibly like 10 years ago. I know when I first came out, I think there was like 3 YouTube videos, and there was just hardly nothing out there. And I was so hungry for information.
And, you know, I think that is a big thing that kept me from coming out for so long, was because of the fact that the information was so slight. I mean, when I was 18 or 19, I checked into SRS, and I had found a plastic surgeon that said, yes, we do deal with it. And they sent me a little pamphlet, and it literally had a pencil drawing of a before and after, and I'm like, okay, and it's bifold here with like 6 words on it, and I'm like, okay, this is a lot of information. I said, I think I'll hold off on this. And it definitely it wasn't until later down the road, when there was a lot more information, once the internet became available and, you know, right at your fingertips, there was so much information on how to go about transitioning, how to start your process and stuff like that. So I think that helped out quite a bit.
And the future generation, the future trans individuals will have it a lot easier, thanks to...
We'll have a lot more information.
And exactly. Thanks to projects like what you and Omar are doing, and just great pioneers in the world that have really put forth. I mean, endangering their lives. When I first came out, I endangered the life of my ex-wife and myself, and because I they knew about my business. All I feared about is having a bunch of KKK burning down, kill the transgenders, or something
Pitchforks
like that.
and torches.
And I'm like, well, let's see what happens, but I'm still here. So.
Yes, you made it.
Yes, I did. Yeah. So what message do you have for the trans community, Louis?
I think that from what we've seen, Mark, the message I would give the trans community would just be careful out there. I see a lot of people trying to modify their bodies to fit the way they feel. And, there's a lot of things out there that can harm your body, and you can put yourself in danger. I would also say, love one another. I see that there's somewhat a lot of cattiness and a lot of, I look better and I do this better. We're all just trying to live and try to fit, into what society puts out there as normal. So I would just say support each other and, just be careful and be conscious of what you're putting into your body.
And definitely I've seen a lot of cattiness, and we see a lot of bullying within the trans community itself with one another. There's FTMs who try to become these elitists and tell the ones that aren't taking hormones, well, you're not trans enough, you're not a man because you're not on hormones, or you're not because you don't have the mastectomy and all this stuff. And I've always said being transgender is a state of mind, it's a state of heart. It's not what surgeries you get, what hormones you're on. It's not a competition, it's not a race. I see it with the MTFs as well. It's just the whole...
It's in the MTF community as well. You have the elitists that think, okay, well, you need to be on hormones to be a woman. And, and the thought process, really needs to change in a lot of aspects. Because I think that thought process is what causes a lot of the conflict inside the community.
And suicides, because because people, there's actually a girl, Sarah was her first name, who committed suicide because the elitist transgender individual told her that she was just a cross-dresser.
No, it wasn't an individual. It was actually a group.
A group, yeah. And
founded by, it was like some kind of group.
Harry Benjamin.
For Harry Benjamin.
Yeah, something of that nature. And, it's pretty sad, that there's that hatred and that judgment within our own community. So we all should just accept one another, and
I think we're all angelic, two-spirited.
I think the whole. Go ahead.
Also, just keep in mind that any transition, it's a process, and you don't do it from morning to night. You don't just walk into the doctors and walk out like that beautiful female or that great male that you want to be. It's a process, and it takes time to reach your goal. So. Take your time, do your research, and, see a doctor and do it the right way.
Very good information. Yeah. A lot of us I know start transitioning by self-medicating. I did it. I don't believe Mark did, but I know I did. I self-medicated for about 4 months. So that's not recommended because, you can actually do more damage to your transition than you can any good. So...
Well, hormones are not something to play with. You need to be seen by a doctor, blood work. I mean, you can mess up your liver, your heart, your kidneys, just an array of problems that you would bring upon yourself. And it's not for everyone. It's not something that everyone will be able to undergo surgery, maybe because they have health issues, maybe because psychologically they're not there.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is that hormones do not make you more of a woman, nor do they make you more of a man. Basically that comes from within. Again, going back to that gender spectrum of living in one box all our life, then transitioning and jumping into another box, that's all we're really doing. So
we need to get out of boxes and just, be ourselves and stop trying to fit into the norm. And I think that's, what every one of us in the LGBTQ community feel we need to fit in, feel that we need to be normal, and we do all sorts of crazy things trying to fit in, and we just need to be ourselves.
Now, I might have a blah moment here, but I want to ask a question. What brought you to what? I know we said this, but I want to know a little more about what enticed you. What gave you the idea to go about making a documentary of, worldwide like this?
Well, one of the inspirations was a few transgender people that I met while I was in the military. I was stationed in DC, and I met a few people that were part of the transgender community, and just listening to their stories really touched my heart. And I could only imagine how hard it was for them to, endure all this pain from their families, from the community, from, their church. So, when I went to school for production and film, I decided, I had the means and I had the opportunity to share with the rest of the world, what the community was going through. And, I felt that it was my obligation to put it out there for people to know and understand how it really is for somebody who's going through a transition.
Yeah,
definitely.
I wanted to say, it's people don't realize how precious life really is, and we walk around life taking things for granted. Each other, our families, our friends, our health. And I bring this up because I learned the day of the concert that we went, that Omar and yourself provided us tickets to go, and Omar told me the news that you were ill and you had stage 4 lymphoma cancer, and that blew me away. Because I see you, I see light, I see love, I see such a precious young soul who's just, I don't have the words, but that just totally,
Right. Trust me, I was just as shocked as you were. I was too, Mark. It all happened really fast. I found out the day of Thanksgiving. I went to the doctors, they did some tests, and unfortunately I was diagnosed with lymphoma cancer. I'm taking care of it now. However, like you said, we don't know how precious life is until, we're put in a position where being strong is your only choice. However, I am a true believer that everything happens for a reason. So I'm at peace with that. And, I just feel that fighting it is the only choice right now. And I think it's all going to come out fine. And, like I said, that's one of the reasons why I, say, be careful with what you do with your body. We might not see any changes or any harm, immediately, but, there are things that do harm us, especially with, all the, things that are in our food and substances like diet pills and stuff like that. There's a lot of damage that can be done into our bodies. So, everything's going to be fine, and just be careful with what you do with your body.
Yeah, when we're younger, we think we're invisible and that nothing could happen to us, and we try all sorts of things and put things in our body that just in the long run will catch up with us. And that's a very good message to the trans community and to everybody in the community. Be very careful what you do, even your thoughts, because even thoughts could be toxic. Self-hatred, and we grow up listening to all this self-hatred from other people telling us you're bad, you're this, you're that, and the other, and we internalize this, and this eventually can turn into diseases because your cells are vibrant and they feel every thought, every feeling, every part of your heart, and they take on things. So it's important for people to have self-love, to not let anybody. Are you still crying over there?
No, I'm not crying.
Okay.
I need to start really wearing waterproof mascara.
Yeah, so you're going to look like Alice Cooper.
I have a question for you guys on that. Because I was actually just sitting at my kitchen the other day, and I was thinking about it, I went to go get my blood test done, and, they said, I've gone through 2 chemo sessions, and I guess they had to give me a lower dosage because the chemo kind of affected a little bit of my kidney. So as I was in my kitchen and I was typing up some stuff, I was like, you know, I wonder, for example, somebody who is in their transition and is taking hormones. I mean, I know hormones affect, you know, can affect your liver and your kidneys. If they were going through something like cancer, you know, would you have to stop your treatment? Yes. So that's kind of a question that I'm still kind of trying to figure out. You know, if you were going through a transition and you did have to go through something like chemo or something, would that affect your transitioning?
I would highly recommend, as a healthcare provider and the knowledge that I have, because already the chemo and the radiation is putting a lot of stress on your liver and your kidneys. Hormones put a lot of stress on your kidneys and your liver. I mean, we take something called milk thistle, which is an herb that helps regenerate these cells in the liver. So imagine a double whammy. I mean, it's something that your body can only put up with so much, and your immune system breaks down when you keep hitting it with things that just makes you sick and sick. So there's going to get a time where the immune system says, I give up. And so...
Yeah, and most likely, like you were saying, you know, I'm not going to go and get full bottom surgery. But, you know, most FTMs, they get hysterectomies, they have their ovaries removed. MTFs, they have 2 different things that they can do. They can just have what's called an orchiectomy, or they can have the full bottom SRS. The orchiectomy is just where they remove the testicles. So when they do that, it stops the body from creating testosterone. 80%, 85% of the testosterone that's generated naturally in the body is from the testicles. The other 15 to 20% is from the adrenal glands or somewhere else. And so basically, you know, if the orchiectomy will prevent you from having to take so many hormones as it is. And basically, you know, so I mean, it does have its health benefits for MTFs to have their, you know, their testicles removed.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer also when you're taking anything, any kind of hormones or any kind of medication, eating the right kind of foods, eating everything that's natural, because foods have been voided of all the nutrition with all the radiation that they do and additives and food colorings and all sorts of stuff that is not even food. So your body's really going through a major, how would I say it? It's being worked too hard because you're eating stuff that you're not supposed to. I'm a big believer in the raw vegan lifestyle, especially to try to deal with diseases, which is something that maybe you want to look into. I think your body will stand, especially as young, as vibrant as you are. You know, something to look at.
That's definitely something I'm doing, Mark. I have turned into the raw eating, and I'm doing a lot of grains and, you know, soaking up a lot of almonds and leaving them overnight. And I'm doing a lot of that. Also a lot of teas for my blood count. So
that's good.
Trying different methods. Everything I can, you know. But
there's this I forgot her name, but she wrote a book called Sexy Crazy Cancer. She was an Oprah, and that's how she, you know, she's still alive today. They found 20 tumors in her liver, actually, and the doctors, you know, even radiation wasn't going to help her, and she's still alive. And it's been, I think, over 10 years, and she turned to the raw diet, and she does a lot of wheatgrass, and, you know, just young and vibrant, didn't want to die, you know. And so I believe that it's, you know, if you want to keep going, it's there for you, you know. All the
definitely. I definitely want to thank you guys for your support, and you know, I will continue to fight. This is not the end of me.
No, of course not. And we're on your corner.
Definitely. We are in your corner full force.
Yes.
So tell the viewers how they can reach you, and when will the documentary be out?
Well, we're trying to get the documentary out by this summer. Working really hard. And you guys can reach us at www.facebook.com/tworldgeneration. Please go ahead and visit the page and like us. We'd love to have you. You can also email us at info@tworldgeneration.com. That, again, is info@tworldgeneration.com. And you can watch our videos on YouTube at youtube.com/tworldgeneration. That is the channel. And we also have a Facebook group, which is www.facebook.com/groups/tworldgeneration.
Excellent. So anything else you wanted to add, and any other information that you want?
Well, you know, I just want to thank both of you for giving us the opportunity to come on your show. You know, and I'm so thankful that you guys are part of this documentary. We're looking forward to continuing this communication, and I wish you guys the best with Transition Radio. It's awesome that you guys are doing this for the community and for those who want to gain that education that, you know, we desperately need.
Yes, and we thank you for the same, because you guys are doing a really great job and a really great project to get the word out there.
And I could see it growing tremendously. Like I said, not just a documentary, but a movement. As you know, that whole saying, think big, visualize it, or what's that, build it and they will come type of thing. So the mind is very powerful. And when you attach the mind with the heart together, you just do volume.
Yes. So we got a heart for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of that. So thanks again, and we send our love to Omar.
Thank you, Lewis.
And keeping you always in our thoughts and our prayers, and sending you healing energy, and lots and lots of love. Thank you again for
likewise,
joining.
and appreciate it.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We love you. We love you, Lewis.
Love you.
And we love Omar
Love you
too.
guys too. You guys have a good one. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks
definitely.
everybody for tuning in.
Wait, did you just turn the interview around?
Right? What is this? I always do this.
We're supposed to be asking the questions.
Force a habit. Sorry.
I know, exactly. That's it. What can you say?
All right, guys, please visit our website, sign our guest book, sponsor, advertise, or just donate.
If you are enjoying the show and like what we are doing for our LGBT community.
And as usual, ending the show again with one of my original. But before we end the show with one of my original, remember how much we love you.
And remember to always love yourselves too.
Mwah.
Start the program with a clean slate. Before it is too late. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that it's already bad, bad, bad. Gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta get down the avenue. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down the avenue. Everyone's doing it, so I shouldn't go. Mindlessly following the person in front of you. Two plus two, equal four. Could be fine. We had on the notes since our brains have been hypnotized to believe endless lies. The machine has ruled the world. Can we find the avenue? Gotta go down, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta go down the avenue. Oh, 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 yeah. Gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down the avenue. Yeah, 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 yeah. We gotta go down, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta go down the avenue. Everyone's doing it, so I shouldn't go. Mindlessly following that person in front of you. Gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down the avenue. Gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down the avenue. Ah, ah, ah. What do you say? I can't tell. Can you learn how to think for yourself? Mr. Whoopie-Doo. Gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down, gotta get down, gotta go down.